All right, section 3.3, our introduction to polynomials. This section is pretty easy. So what we have with your third test is you have your positive exponents or your exponent rules, you have your negative exponents, and then your introduction to polynomials, and you're adding and subtracting polynomials. And these two sections are pretty easy, so it should give you a little break from the difficult exponent rules that you have. So hopefully it's not going to be completely a difficult test. It should balance each other out. So the first thing we're going to talk about is definitions, and this just helps you figure out what is a polynomial, the parts of a polynomial, and what it means when I'm actually talking about a term, numerical coefficient, a constant. And some of these things we talked about in our first chapter, so this might be things that you've seen before. So just hopefully you won't have any questions, any further questions after we discuss this one today. So a term is a variable, a number, or a product of numbers and variables raised to powers. Now we talked about this before. This could be like 2x, negative 4, negative x squared y. These are all either numbers, variables, or products of numbers and variables raised to powers. The numerical coefficient, remember, is the number factor of each term. So if I did write these terms down, I have 2x, I have negative 4, negative x squared y. I'm going to put 1/3 x, and then negative 2x y squared. So let's look at the number factor of each term. The number factor, remember, is the number in front of the term. So this one would just be 2. This whole term is a number, so negative 4, the entire term, will be the numerical coefficient. The only thing they have in front of this one is a negative. Remember, that's going to be an understood negative 1, so the numerical coefficient is a negative 1. The number in front of this variable is 1/3. And the number in front of these variables is negative 2. So these are your numerical coefficients, the number factor, or the number in front of the variables of the term. Now remember, the constant term is the term that only has a number. So this would be your constant term, the number negative 4. Because the whole term was only a number, that's what makes it a constant. All right, now let's look at the definition of polynomial. This is a finite sum of terms in which all variables are raised to positive powers and no variables are in the denominator. Now you're not going to have to know any of these definitions for your final exam or anything, so it's just good to understand what the teacher is talking about when they actually discuss these terms. So I'm going to give you an example of what a polynomial is. So negative 2x to the 5th plus 3x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 2x plus 1. Now, polynomials don't have to be this big. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to have x to the 5th in it. A polynomial is just a finite sum of terms, and all the variables are raised to positive exponents, and no variables are in the denominator. So these are just examples of what polynomials look like. Descending order means the powers of x decrease from left to right, and the highest power is written first, and then it goes down from there. So this is actually a good example of descending order because I have x to the 5th, and then I have x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, I have x to the 1st, and then I just have my constant term. So when you're talking about descending order, you're not looking at the numerical coefficients at all. You're only looking at the powers of x. So the only thing that we don't have in this polynomial is x to the 2nd, but it doesn't matter. A descending order example could be as easy as this, as long as you have your powers, your highest power first, and then it descends from there. So x to the 2nd, then I have x to the 1st, and then I have my constant term. All right? So now let's look at an example where we have different types of polynomials. And the types of polynomials we have are monomials, binomials, and trinomials. And when you have a monomial, this is a polynomial with exactly one term. An example would be like 2x. 2x is only one term. A binomial is a polynomial with exactly two terms. So this could be like x plus 3. I have 2 terms. So this is a binomial. A trinomial has 3 terms. So this would be like x squared plus 4x plus 2. It has 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay? So these are just examples or types of polynomials. Now we're going to pick up with the next part in the next video.